Do the one you want to do right now first, the one you have the most motivation and inspiration for, because you're going to need motivation and inspiration to get this done. You know what I mean? It's hard to get yourself to do something that you think you should do, but that you don't really want to do. But when you have your heart and your passion, your desire behind it, I find that to be the easiest. So do the one you want to do, right? I pondered many a book before I wrote Rich as Fuck. It wasn't the first book I thought about, talked about, or even outlined. I mean, there's probably 4 times where I was like, no, okay, this is the book. Even at one point, I had my team take some of my favorite riffs I had gone on Facebook and like compile them, and we made this like not this outline, this like layout. And I was gonna release a book that was like spiritual boss ladies life lessons, or spiritual boss ladies lessons for life. And I even sat down with Kara and talked about releasing that book, like the first time her and I met when I was in New York, and she was like, just do your book. That was the one I was going to do. And it never came to fruition, and it's not that it never will, it still could, but I'm glad I did the one I did, because I did the one first that I was most passionate about, that I had the most to say about, that was the most burning within me, but also that would brand me well for who I want to be. You know what I mean? For the path I'm on as like this financial empowerment, money queen like thing. So I didn't pick it because I thought it was a good branding decision. I picked it because it was what I wanted to fucking write about and what I had the most to say about, and I knew it was time. But just know that even if you've started other books and they weren't the one and they didn't come to fruition and whatever, and maybe they're sitting in a Google Drive somewhere or in an email somewhere, like, it's cool. You can pull from them later if you want to. You have them forever. Whatever you're feeling called and led to write right now, let's just let that one be the one, and let's not worry about all the other ones there could have been or could be. When I started creating courses, I told myself, create the one you most want to create right now. Know that you can later create the others. Do the one you want to do right now first, the one you have the most motivation and inspiration for, because you're going to need motivation and inspiration to get this done. You know what I mean? It's hard to get yourself to do something that you think you should do, but that you don't really want to do. But when you have your heart and your passion, your desire behind it, I find that to be the easiest. So do the one you want to do, right? You're the boss of this thing. The problem with my first editor is she believed a little bit she was the boss of the thing, and I was a novice. And so when she would tell me something was true, not about my writing, just about something, I would have to like really go like, wait, is that true for me? Is that the way I want to do it? Just remember, you're the expert. You're building any kind of support system you need for the book, the life, the business you want. And editors definitely don't have to be expensive.
No, and I think that's a great point to make, because when I had my editor, when I had my traditional book deal, she was way more hands-on, and she would make some suggestions to my writing that I didn't agree with, and I would reject those edits. So you have the right to reject your edits.
Yeah, I don't have to a lot of edits from that first editor, because she would rewrite something and I would go like, huh, that's an interesting way to say that, and like we lose my tone, we lose my inflection, we lose my emphasis, and I was like, I can't do that. So I just wouldn't, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, your book is a business, right? So you wouldn't necessarily take unsolicited, well, it's solicited, right? But you wouldn't take every single piece of advice about how to run your business the same way you wouldn't with your book. I think there's a little bit of imposter syndrome, which we can talk about whenever, but I think that does creep in when you're writing, when you're now seeing yourself as an author. You're like, who am I to do this and to be this person? So we tend to take editorial advice to heart, and we think, something that, an editor suggests we do means that we suck or we're not a good writer. And that's just not true. No. Like, Amanda, you're the boss.
I'm the boss.
Find your angle, right? So again, like my book is, it's about love, obviously, but the angle is dating post-divorce, right? So it's a really specific sort of like take on love, right? It doesn't have to be super niche and super specific, but I think that's what makes it kind of interesting. It's like, here I am, lived my life, my whole entire life in 2 really long-term relationships. One was 7 years, one was 11 years. And all of a sudden I'm 40 and I'm out into the dating pool, and I never had to date in my life because I just met people and it just worked, right? and I'm like a floundering mess. And it's like funny, it's very self-deprecating. So when you think about the angle that you're taking, what is it, right? Maybe you want to write a personal essay collection about business, right? About some of your things that you've overcome, but like what angle is that, right? What's going to make it interesting to the reader? You also want to ask yourself, like, why me? And that question can sometimes feel like it can almost like if you're not careful, it can sort of talk you out of doing something. But if you truly ask yourself, why me? It helps you get to the root of who you are and what you have to offer people, right? What is your story? Why you? Make a list, journal on it, think about, the way you tell stories. For me, I think I had to really think about, like, why me? Well, it's because it's relatable as fuck, right? I'm 40. Like, there's a lot of women out there who are starting over. Their huge theme in my book is like reinvention, and self-discovery. And I know that I tell really funny stories. I know that when I tell them to my friends on the phone, they crack up and die laughing. So the challenge for me was like, how do I put that on the page, right? How do I now get that and translate it in a way that people understand?
The fear that everything has already been written.
Oh, let's talk about that.
So I had that with courses. I was ready to do my first money course, Money Mentality Makeover. It seemed like there are a handful of good money courses by people who are way more well known than me. And I just had to decide it doesn't matter who else has done it. They can't do it like I will. Like my experience, my voice, my take is uniquely mine. They can't do it like me, even if they tried. Like I had to decide that my uniqueness was enough. So yes, whatever you're writing about, someone else has already written about it. That doesn't mean the world doesn't need it. Like people tell me all the time, your money book spoke to me like no one else's did. What if I just didn't write it because there was already a Think and Grow Rich? That would have been insane. There were people who understood it more through my perspective and Valley Girl voice, whatever else the fuck I bring. It got them better because I'm uniquely me. Like you are you for a reason. Your stories are yours, your history, your pain point. It's all been perfectly designed in your life and orchestrated in your life for you to help people with it. Like we have to use it all for good. So that first day the ebook was approved, and the same for the paperback and the same for the audiobook. The day like it was available, it was like off to the races. That was the fun part for me. But marketing is fun for me. The fun part for me was just getting on the internet and telling everyone it was here and like resharing everyone who was I like just want to create a party and a movement, and like that was my favorite. I think you have to know that as a whole, writing a book is such an act of service because you're taking all your information, all your wisdom, all your knowledge, and you're putting it in this thing that is like affordable and accessible. Books are inexpensive, they just are. And I charge a lot of money to get information from me in lots of ways, and that's great. It's my career. But knowing that people can start with this like truly accessible thing called a book that they have no reason to say no to because the ebook is $5, like it really just is an act of service. So you should never feel bad ever at all for telling people about the book, because when you do it from love and generosity, like, I don't know, it's just something to be proud of. There is no shame in it at all.
And we're going to talk about this too in the course. Like, I think to me, and Amanda and I both are passionate about personal branding, obviously, like it's what we do. And I think all of this is personal branding, right? Like all it is like sharing what you do best and sharing what you're passionate about. So we're going to talk through all of this and how to do it without feeling gross and weird, and how to do it from a place of like just genuine passion for what it is that you're putting out there. So this will all be in the course.
Okay. Yeah. Have a wonderful week, guys. We love you.
Bye. Love you.